a qualified, willing, and able individual to perform those job duties. And the Department of Labor tells us very specifically what we have to do, what ads we have to place, what the ads have to say, and so forth. And of course, there is a cost associated with that, and that cost has to be borne by the employer. That cost, I will suggest to you, because I am an employer, that cost is negligible. The advertising cost to keep you as a foreign national with a labor certificate in my business, for me to advertise and for me to pay the attorney's fees on that, that cost is negligible compared to me going out and having to recruit in the open market if I already have you as a prospect. What do you think it costs to recruit for a lawyer? It costs us between $10,000 and $15,000. And then I don't know whether he or she is going to be any good. Right? Now in a labor certificate, if I want to advertise, I will tell you our advertisements for professionals run approximately between $900 and $2,000. Attorney's fees, of course, they vary. It depends on who the lawyer is. In our office, I believe it's $4,500 for a labor certificate. But compared to that recruitment cost that an employer might otherwise have, that is really not a very high cost.
Why employee will want to get a labor certificate, since that the employee will have a green card and easily quit from that job or the other job?
Of course they can.
Otherwise, they will have H1B and they can be making work for 5 years and average wage, you know.
And you're right, and those things happen all the time. I often come across student clients or H1B clients of mine who tell me my employer is not petitioning for me. I said, well, find another job. You do not have to stay with that employer. And also remember this, and this may help you make a decision on that. When you work for employer A with an H1B, employer F or X can file for your labor certificate. A labor certificate is a future offer of employment. You do not have to be at that place of employment until such date and time that you get your green card. Meaning, you're working here today on an H1B and someone over there is petitioning for your labor certificate. So you can absolutely do that. So you can stay with that H1B employer if you find this to be good employment and you're being well paid, but that employer just doesn't want to go for that green card. Another employer can do that for you. Can you switch between H1B jobs? Portability. What do you have to do?
The other employer should apply from the beginning for your H1B.
Do not quit your job. Okay? When you switch H1B jobs, do not quit your job because things will go bad. You've got to keep your job until that petition is filed. When that petition is filed, move on. You can. But if you move on before that petition is filed, and I know Mr. Sherrill is now an outrage, but his colleagues sitting somewhere in a cubicle in Nebraska, when they get an H1B portability petition, they say, okay, worked until January 30th, new job starts on March 1st. Oops, that is a month missing. And then I get what's called a request for evidence. And I'm gonna call you a pay. I need your pay stubs for the month of February. Well, I don't know what you're talking about. I was in Hawaii, surfing. Well, we're done, okay? Do not fool yourself with that. If you have an H1B and you work for employer A and you rather move to employer B must first file your H1B petition before you can quit that job. And remember, whatever they tell you, that they're transferring your H1B and it's a transfer, it's all nonsense. It's a new H1B, okay? New employer, new H1B. Yeah.
But as soon as they file, right, it's a process you can.
You can, as soon as it's filed. Properly filed means the petition is signed, it's complete, it is accompanied by the filing fee, and it's been accepted by USCIS. I prefer to have a receipt notice. I mean, I trust a lot of people, but the United States Postal Service is not one of them. I want to know that the USCIS actually has that petition. What happens if you file and then you leave and then you don't like the new job? You can go back to the other guy if you still have him. Yeah, you can. That H1B is not dead. Not dead. Unless that petitioner revokes it, it's still good. Well, here behind EB3, you of course are skilled labor. You're not unskilled labor. Skilled labor is anything with a bachelor's degree. And as you well know, I can blabber on about this for about 8 days, so please do ask me anything, and otherwise I'll turn it over to Don.
About self-petition for the EB2 visa. Like, I got my PhD, I had my projects, maybe, but, so it's a US interest. But there are like 10 steps that I have to fulfill, at least 4 or 5 of them. And at the bottom it says additional, you can supply some additional papers to fulfill other interests. So
Well, are you in EB2 or are you in EB1?
EB2.
In the EB2, there is only a very small exception where you can self-petition, because typically in the EB2 it will require a job offer, even on the national insurance labor side. The job offer is required, there's just no labor certificate. But there is the EB2 Schedule A, section something, section 2, I believe. And that allows you to self-petition, and it does not require a job offer. Now what you have, and that's not extraordinary ability, that's exceptional ability. And believe it or not, that the USCIS is capable of distinguishing between exceptional ability and extraordinary ability. And what you perceive as a hurdle is actually a blessing. Yes, you have to meet some of those requirements out of those that are listed, and then at the end it tells you, or anything else that you want to submit. Well, I love it, because if they tell me I can put in whatever I want to can put in, that's what I'll do. Because the reason why the USCIS does that in their regulations is because you cannot shoehorn every profession into a certain category. You can't just make a list of 10 things. You've got to know this, because not everybody does. But that does not mean that you are not an exceptional person in your field of expertise. And as industry evolves, we get all these new things, all these new innovations, and you have someone who's really on top of that game, won't fit at all into that scheme. So there you have that last sentence. Submit whatever you want, as long as it comes within the purview of being accepted.
For example, it says that 10 years of experience, professional experience, like that. But I got my PhD in engineering, but my